Welcome, everybody. It's been a while since I did my first YouTube live in a long time. And today we're going to be talking about one of the things that when I woke up this morning, it was one of the most insulting things, insulting to intelligence that I found on Political Wire. And that the Justice Department was using the False Claims Act for companies that have DEI programs, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion program. And they're using diversity, inclusion, and equity programs, which is the most pro-business you can do as as False Claims Act, which is frauding the government.
Let's see. The False Claims Act is a federal statute that imposes civil liabilities on individuals and entities that defraud the U.S. government. And it is also a primary whistleblower law that rewards and protects those who report such fraud. And you mean you got up this morning and then you found out you being black.
You know, I found out that black, being Latino, being anything different, a Muslim, gay, any straight, that anybody that is not white male or not even a white Christian male, like is defrauding the government.
So being black now is defrauding the government.
Yeah,
DEI.
DEI means if you're black or Latino, or if you're gay or straight or the LGBT community or Muslim, anybody that is not a white Christian man is considered defrauding the government. That just means that your existence, if you're not a white male, is defrauding the government.
And the person that brought this claim.
And the person and the people that brought the claim was the Cone Justice Department of Pam Bondi, okay, which is the female Roy Cohn of this generation, and she is worse than Roy Cohn.
You got to tell them who Roy is because they may not know who Roy
No,
Cohn is.
Tell you who Roy Cohn is. Roy Cohn was one of Donald Trump's first attorneys and mentors.
Okay.
And Roy Cohn was the one that even taught Donald Trump that no press is bad press. And he taught you to delay and deny tactics. That came from Roy Cohn. Pam Bondi surpassed Roy Cohn as the worst an attorney general.
Now, going back to the False Claims Act, the FCA targets fraud involving federal money or property, including fraud by government, contractors, healthcare providers, billing, Medicare, Medicaid, defense contractors, and grant recipients. And the DOJ has done all the above.
They're making a false claim against people. They're up against people of color. That's the false claim.
Man, you thought.
And if you're a woman as well, that's like a false claim.
So this is another one that's going to go to the courts because trying to directly. This is like a test.
This is like and Google, which bent the knee for DJT, and Verizon is the first target of the False Claims Act.
They're trying to test.
They're going to test how that works, and if it goes out and successfully, then the target will be two of the most targeted: Apple and Costco. Is going to be the target.
But Apple bent the knee.
Apple actually bent the knee. Timothy Cook bent the knee, but he kept the DEI program. Google bent the knee because Google was about to lose an antitrust law, which is breaking up of the company. So they needed DJT's re-election so they could keep their monopoly in power, which Google owns about, guess what, 90% of search engines. And that's just the surface, 6%. The rest of the 95% is the dark web. And 6% that is in the web that's not dark web, Google owns 90% of it.
So all that ass kissing that Google has done, they just found out that DJT has found another way to what? Money grab.
Not only to money grab, but to say, you owe me.
It says any person knowingly submits or causes the submission of a false or fraudulent claim for payment or approval to the United States can be liable under. So the DEI is liable under this act because you black. There are many people out there that's DEI, that's of different races, and like you said, every can't be white. So this is a big false claim, and this claim probably ain't gonna go nowhere.
It ain't gonna go nowhere in terms of the lower courts. But when it gets to the Supreme Court, here's what I bet they're going to do. They're going to do the same thing with affirmative, like what they did with affirmative action. They're going to tell businesses to say that DEI, diversity, inclusion programs, is considered unconstitutional. We have the head of the EEOC that's encouraging white men, and this is white men, to sue against companies that have DEI programs, which is diversity, inclusion, and equity programs.
So it's kind of remind you of this Beyonce, white men run the world.
Instead of girls run the world, it's white men running the world. Mediocre white men running the world, that is. Unethical white men running the world, that is. Unethical billionaires, that is.
All right. So the key liability standard is knowingly under the FCA, under this act includes knowledge or reckless disregards of the truth or falsity of the information. Specific intent to defraud is not required. So these people don't have information on this. This is some more that they made.
They just made up so they could keep minorities from even to even having, and the real discrimination, so they can ignore the actual real discrimination and push the minorities, actual minority businesses out and minority employees out. That's just what it really is. They really want to kick people of color out the country. This is what it's really about.
Well, it's also about another what? Distraction.
And and these guys, this is another distraction from the Epstein files. Pedophilia, and a lot of some of the people at Google that are 90%, like Sergey Brin and all these people, they're in the Epstein files. So this is just another distraction from accountability from sex trafficking children. That's what it really is.
And they can't shake this case because a lot of people not going for their kids.
And they're not going for their kids being raped. You can do a lot of things, but here are a few things you cannot do. When it comes to killing animals, raping children, hurting the elderly, you cross those lines. That is a line too far. Even for MAGA moves.
All right.
You don't cross those lines. You don't hurt and rape kids. You don't hurt and yeah, they have gone too far. You don't cover up for that.
They got private individuals called relators may file key TAM lawsuits in the name of the United States alleging FCA violations, even though the government is the real party in interest. And
the government's interest in this is to keep minorities down, to keep minorities from even going to spaces where it's working or even building your own businesses. Like, for example, there was this one black guy in Texas that actually took responsibility, okay, and tried to build a county for blacks in Texas. Do you know who's suing him? Attorney General corrupt. Attorney General Ken Paxton, that was even impeached by the state house for corruption by fellow Republicans and was divorced by his wife, Cynthia Paxton. And guess what? He's running for the Senate in Texas against John Cornyn and another raccoon, Representative Wesley Hunt.
And what did Wesley do?
Wesley is one of those people that is just another bootlegger for Donald Trump, one of the black Trump supporters, MAGA supporters, him, McDonald's, and my other favorite, and the grandfather of the raccoons, Clarence Thomas.
Woo, this goes on and on. So we went from defrauding the government, making false claims, and now under that heading, they're
using the theory of false claims, frauding the government to go against DEI, which is diversity, inclusion, and equity. They don't want no equity. They don't want you to compete in anything.
Now this is the killer. It says the Department of Justice and Agency Inspector General actively investigate contractor fraud and recent policy changes in parallel administration. False claims tools more scrutiny even for mid-sized or low-dollar low dollar matters. But we don't have a DOJ that's that's gonna actively do their job.
No, no, they're actually doing the opposite. They're actually going for white men trying to do what they call reverse discrimination, even though that you are always, yeah.
Okay.
They're doing reverse discrimination and defending corrupt companies in the first place. And the actual discrimination, they're either being ignored. That's what they're doing, or setting you aside.
The bottom line is all the false claims have come through the Epstein. If they can't show
the evidence of the Epstein files, that's why they're trying to blame it on black folks. They're trying to blame it on minorities for screwing the country. Really, the corrupt billionaires, not all billionaires are bad, but the unethical, corrupt billionaires, such as the Elon Musk, the Peter Thiels, the Jeff Bezos, the Mark Zuckerbergs,
and in the courts we got
and the courts, Clarence Thomas, the Neil Gorsuch, the Kwame Burnett's, the Justice Kavanaugh's,
and the people with dark money,
and the people like Little Lee. They're the ones that are destroying the country. They're the top one. They're the real 1% that are screwing up the country.
Because Stacey Abrams says, name that tune. If you know somebody out there and somebody else may not know it, name the tune. And these are the people that are up. And the thing that's really fascinating is that they're always talking about dark money, dark behind the scene. They must like black undercover because they always use it dark, or they always doing something dark.
They're always doing something. They have something business doing that you can't come in like. If you have to do that behavior that comes to dark, then don't even do that behavior in the first place. It's the same rule on YouTube or Facebook or TikTok and say, if you cannot say in that person's face, do not type it on YouTube, Facebook, or TikTok or things like that. So it's the same rules. It's called integrity.
So under this dark rule, special care is required for certification tied to payments, such as representations about DEI and anti-discrimination compliance, cybersecurity, and labor standards, because they are being explicitly framed as material for FCA purposes in current federal policy debates. So who's being framed?
Well, who's being framed in the first place? It's actually companies that stood up for DEI that is very pro-business. If you're not in diversity, that is the most anti-business that you could do. The DOJ is mostly the most anti-business.
And we found out in this administration, a lot of things that we shopped at.
A lot of companies that shot at are the ones that supported DJT and the policies of DJT. And a lot of them that bent the knee, like Target, like they threw transgenders on the bus first. There was an anonymous sign of throwing, and then they threw DEI under the bus. Target lost 90% of its customers, lost 90% of black people. They're not shopping. And Target is going Big K. Target is worse than Big K in many ways.
And then they got, when they got Mondani stepped in New York, what happened?
Yeah, everybody was leaving New York with billionaires right there. Mm-hmm.
So every time they put something out there to basically distract, it backfires all the time.
It always backfires. You're trying to get them off the scent because these are not going to get off the scent. They're just not.
So it says no DEI phrase is automatically unlawful under the False Claims Act. Liability turns on whether a DEI-related statement or certification to the federal government is knowingly false and material to the under a contract or grant. Current policy, however, is deliberately structuring certain DEI certifications so that misstatements can be pursued as FCA violations. So basically, they're claiming something that basically
it don't even exist. So they're just saying that if you are just a black contractor, or if you include people that are trying to get the job done through backgrounds, that's just really saying that you're a fraud. That's just really, it's just really just disgusting behavior. So what you're just saying is just my black existence is known as the stealing from the government. Okay, interesting.
Well, it was kind of weird that when you told me this morning, you said, I can't believe that I woke up.
I can't, and I woke up to this. I was looking at Political Wire to see what I'm going to talk about on YouTube, what I'm going to talk about, what subjects I'm going to talk about on YouTube, what subjects I'm going to talk about on Substack, and what subject I'm going to talk about on TikTok, on those different platforms. And what I found um, on this one about DEI, it was so egregious that I had to make a live stream on YouTube because this was so egregious.
Okay. So, what you want to close it out with?
I'm going to close out by saying this is. If you're in the workplace, if you're black or Latino, woman, or LGBT, and if you're in the workplace, you are considered a fraud. So what I would be telling these black people to do is to get out the as fast as you can and as fast as you can and the best you can. Because what they're trying to do by going after these companies like Verizon and Google is what's going to happen next. They're going to it's going to shut down Costco as well. They're prosecuting Costco, and if this works, and if it goes to the Supreme Court, they're going to do the same thing with DEI as they did with affirmative action, and I can just watch what they're going to do.
Well, on the opposite side of that, this is what I have to say to you. They can go after Costco's, and Costco's has put
And Costco, and the reason why they retaliated against Costco because Costco was the one that sued over the tariffs, which is the Supreme Court is likely going to favor Costco and get rid of the tariff power.
Yeah, but the bottom line is Costco didn't bend the knee.
They did not bend the knee.
They stood their ground.
They stood their ground.
And once again, all these people from Google to Tim Cook
to Target, those that did not stand their ground, to the law firms, their reputation is just done and destroyed.
And found out that this is a bottomless pit, and you can never satisfy a narc. And
not just a narc. You can never satisfy a bully and a malignant narcissist. You cannot do it. You have to just stand up to them, and you got to stand up for your principles.
Okay.
And those who do not have principles, they go to pay the price. Google is learning that the hard way.
Yep, and they're seeing too that, like you said, content is being more favorable
on the left than it is on the right, and there are more content that is more on the left, more popular on the left. And the reason why, because we're talking about real issues and the truth. We're talking about anti-fascism and things.
And a lot of people getting ready to dump my dude and jump ship because they know it's a sinking ship and it's time to head out, and so they're gonna have to switch their content over because everybody is sick of the lies. We're sick of the lies. And so that's why a lot of people have went to independent media who has proven themselves to be truth tellers because they have factual information and documentation, and they don't bend the knee or they stand on principles. And on that note, we are
out of here.
Okay. What was they saying?
They were just saying God is good. God is great.
God is good. God is great.
Mm-hmm.